Welcome to this NSE tutorial where we're going to connect and set up the NSE BLDC controller for resolver interface. So first we're going to connect the input cable. Make sure the cable is firmly connected into the motor controller. Then connect the low voltage to a 24 volt supply. As we're only running a low voltage motor, the high voltage cable is now connected to the 30 volt section of the power supply. Typically for high power motors, these will be like 400 volt or 600 volt DC. Then finally connect the CAN bus cable to the CAN bus adapter. Make sure there is a CAN bus termination resistor also attached. Then we go on and connect the output cable. Again, make sure the output cable is properly attached to the motor controller. Then connect the phases to the motor. Make sure A, B, and C is correctly aligned with the motor. Then go on and connect the resolver interface. Pay particular attention to the wiring here. Make sure that the wires are correctly set up and that the pinning is according to the datasheet. Finally, connect the ground connection. So we're then going to connect to the motor controller using the NSE Node Manager. Now, as we saw, we connected the motor controller using the CAN interface, and it usually comes up with the correct settings for the CAN interface when you start the Node Manager. So this is okay. We click OK here. We then see that we got a control menu up. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up the settings in the motor controller for the motor chosen. So we go then to Setup, Settings, and Configuration menu. Then we need to know the parameters for the motor. So in this setup, we have connected with the Maxon motor. So we then go to maxongroup.com. Then I know my motor part number, which is 393024. So here we go. Now, looking at this motor, this is a brushless DC motor. It's this one here, so it's 42 volt. Let's have a closer look. Main thing we want to know is, first of all, it's got one pole pair. It's rated for 42 volt. We also gonna set the speed constant for the motor and the terminal resistance. So let's see here. If we go to mode of operation, we're gonna run this in resolver today. We're gonna use the position speed control, so that's okay. Then we go to the motor parameters. Here we find the motor pole pair number. That's going to be set to 1. We can see that the value, new value, changes to green when it's properly set. Then, even though we're not going to use it in sensorless setup, we can still set it up here according to the datasheet. So terminal resistance was 0.6 here. The speed constant was, find that one there. So that's 241 RPM per volt. And the nominal voltage is 42. So then we should be properly set up. Then we also need to look on the resolver settings. So again, if we go here, the resolver is another Maxon part number. So that one has the part number 133405. So it's this one. So this is a pretty standard resolver. It's got nothing special to it. It's rated for 10,000 RPM. So we can have a look here. Here are the settings for the resolver for the sensors attached. So on this case, you can verify that the resolver frequency setting is okay. It's set up to excite the resolver with 10 kilohertz. Then again, we need to know that the angle offset is properly set. So that means how the resolver is mounted to the motor. They can be mounted with different mechanical offsets. So what you need to know is that you need to be within ballpark number. You don't have to be spot on, but you have to be within like ballpark range of the mechanical mounting. So this typically varies from 90 degrees to 30 degrees, 0 degrees, depending on the different manufacturers. There can also be resolvers that are put on externally post mount after the motor has been assembled, and then you can pop into more random numbers. But for this motor, I know that it's approximately 90 degrees. So with the resolver properly set up, we should be ready to run the motor. So in the control section, we can set the main parameters for how we want to run the motor. So this is a pretty light motor. I can set my input current down. Probably never going to reach 1 amp anyway. 500 RPM is okay, and motor phase current can be set to 1. So let's click start. So we then see we got our motor spinning. Can increase the RPM. You'll notice you can pop up windows here that shows the vital parameters such as the RPM then. So let's try to speed up a little bit on the motor. And you can see you can set it even down to 0 RPM. It will be a standstill. If you want to go the other direction, just set a negative sign in front. There we go. Motor controller is set up for resolver feedback. Thank you.